Good morning, aspirants. It's 6th of October today. I'm 𝗗𝗶𝗹𝘆 𝗂𝐺. I welcome you all on today's series of What to Read in the Hindu newspaper. While going through the articles, we will not only see its relevance with regard to prelims and mains, but we'll also try and interlink it with other GS papers as well. I am here to align your newspaper reading as a part of our GS syllabus. So let's get started. The very first article that is there in the paper and that is relevant with regard to our exam is on editorials page, and that primarily talks about 𝗏𝗏 Creek dispute between India and Pakistan. So this particular article, the key theme that has been discussed in this particular article is about maritime boundaries dispute and its strategic implication in Arabian Sea. From several papers, this particular article holds relevance. For instance, for GS paper 2 under the theme IR, Neighborhood Policy of India, this can be read and interlinked. With regard to GS paper 1, Geography as well, from the perspective of mapping, this can be read and revised. Knowing about Sir Creek Line, Indus Delta, Corey's Creek, all these themes can be read and revised. Also, the delimitations concept under maritime boundary from UN clause, this can also be revised. From mains perspective, this particular article is relevant with regard to India-Pakistan relationship beyond Kashmir issues with regard to confidence building measures. This can also be linked while going through this particular article. Other arenas that can be discussed in this particular article could be GS paper 3 under the theme Maritime Security, Blue Economy. Afterwards, a holistic interlinking it with other GS papers in the form of security could also be understood. In this manner, this particular article is to be holistically read and revised. Moving on, the next important article that is there in the paper and that needs our attention talks about treat employment as a national priority. Now, this particular article, the key theme has been discussed in this article talks about need for national employment policy amidst automation and demographic dividend in the current time. So for prelims perspective, the areas that we have to go through and read and revise about data on a labor participation rate that with regard to unemployment, जिसमें हम periodic labor force survey इसके बारे में पढ़ सकते हैं. Government schemes with regard to employment generation in the form of मनरेगा, प्रधानमंत्री कृषि विकास योजना, Startup India, Stand Up India, any schemes related to any particular sector or segment of society, for instance, women, tribals, etc. Then what are the policy reforms that is needed? For instance, there is a lack of skill in Indian youth when they pass their university and higher education. So this skill industry gap that we are seeing, we need to fulfill it. So isme linkages and social security ka importance could be read and revised. Also, this is relevant with regard to GS paper 1, wherein population and urbanization, GS paper 2 mein welfare measures and schemes for resolving this issue. At the same time, GS paper 3, wherein economic growth and inclusiveness is the need of hour. So in this manner, this particular article is to be holistically read and revised. Moving on, the next important article that is there in the paper and that is very much important from our exam perspective talks about India's direction for disaster resilience. Now, इसको जब हम मैप करेंगे ना अपने पेपर में, this will fall under GS paper 3 disaster management, GS paper 1 geographical phenomena. अब इसमें की थीम क्या डिस्कस किया गया है? This article majorly talks about relief centric measures से हमको risk reduction and resilience focused disaster governance लाने की need है. For prelims perspective, क्या क्या arenas हमको ध्यान में रखना चाहिए while going through this particular article? Primarily NDMA है क्या? Sendai framework, CDRI, that is Coalition of Disaster Resilience Infrastructure. Then type of natural disaster and India's complete map of vulnerability zones. कौन से zone में कौन सा disaster type they are prone to have it. From mains perspective, this particular article is to be seen through the angle of climate adaptation, अर्बन प्लानिंग एंड लोकल गवर्नेंस मेजर्स। केस स्टडी हम उठा सकते हैं फ्रॉम उड़ीसा का साइक्लोन मॉडल एंड केरला फ्लड्स को। उसके बाद में इसको जीएस पेपर 2 में भी इंटरलिंक किया जा सकता है, जिसमें रोल ऑफ लोकल इंस्टीट्यूशंस, एनजीओस। जीएस पेपर 3 में क्लाइमेट रेजिलियंस मेजर्स। जीएस पेपर 4 में एथिक्स ऑफ गवर्नेंस प्रिपेयर्डनेस कैन बी लिंक्ड व्हाइल गोइंग थ्रू दिस पर्टिकुलर आर्टिकल। ये बहुत सारे मल्टी डायमेंशनली बहुत सारे पेपर्स में लाई करता है, एंड इट डिपेंड्स ऑन रीडर्स पर्सपेक्टिव हाउ मच एंगल दे कैन एक्सप्लोर व्हाइल रीडिंग दिस पर्टिकुलर आर्टिकल। The next important article that is very much important and that catches our attention from today's paper is about what is ADR crucial for India's quote. Now, when we map this particular article, this will primarily fall under GS paper 2, polity, separation of power, electoral reforms and judiciary. Key theme इसमें क्या-क्या discuss किया गया है? Strengthening institutional efficiency and dispute resolution measures. क्यों? So that जो burden higher judiciary है उसमें हमारा जो केस पर ईयर जो आता है वो रिड्यूस हो पाए। ठीक है, केस क्लियरेंस रेशियो जिसको हम कहते हैं सीसीआर। प्रीलिम्स के पर्सपेक्टिव से वी नीड टू नो अबाउट इलेक्शन कमीशन ऑफ इंडिया की पावर, ईसीआई की पावर अंडर आर्टिकल 324, व्हाट इज लोक अदालत, मीडिएशन बिल 2023 के बारे में जो न्यूली लेकर आए थे उसके बारे में भी नीड टू नो। एडीआर की टाइप्स, फॉर इंस्टेंस व्हाट इज आर्बिट्रेशन, कंसिलिएशन, मीडिएशन एंड नेगोशिएशन, इन सभी के डिफरेंसेस। फॉर मेंस पर्सपेक्टिव दिस सेम आर्टिकल इज टू बी सीन थ्रू द लेंस ऑफ जुडिशियल पेंडेंसी। उसके बाद में ईज ऑफ जस्टिस, रिफॉर्मिंग ट्रिब्यूनल सिस्टम, जीएस पेपर 4 एथिक्स एंड जस्टिस डिलीवरी दैट रिक्वायर्स स्पीड, fairness and access. So this triangle pe the entire judiciary has to be seen. So in this manner this particular article is to be seen, holistically read and revised. Moving on, the next important article that is there in the paper and that catches our attention primarily talks about how is AI transforming teaching and learning practices in Indian classroom. We all are seeing impact of AI with regard to job चला जाएगा, but AI का बहुत ही transformative roles in many other sectors भी आ रहे हैं। Case in point here in this article that has been discussed is in education. So this will primarily fall under GS paper 3 science and tech, GS paper 2 education policy. की theme इसमें क्या discuss किया गया है इस article में? They are talking about integrating AI tools into classroom and what are the challenges of digital divide in the current India. प्रीलिम्स के पर्सपेक्टिव से जो एरेनास हमको अनफोल्ड करने हैं व्हाइल गोइंग थ्रू दिस पर्टिकुलर आर्टिकल इज व्हाट इज एआई, व्हाट इज मशीन लर्निंग का वेरी मच बेसिक्स टाइप, न्यू एजुकेशन पॉलिसी 2022, afterwards several initiatives that has been taken in this regard, for example PM 𝗍𝐿 Diksha portal, knowing about these. For mains perspective, the same article is to be seen through the lens of ethical use of AI in pedagogy, inclusivity, teacher tech balance that is need of the hour. We can even link this particular article with regard to GS paper 4 wherein ethical implication of AI, GS paper 2 mein role of state in promoting equitable education can be unfolded while going through this particular article. In this manner this particular article is to be seen, right? So kabhi bhi direct question AI ka nahi aata hai, but AI का impact on several sectors, for example health हो गया, education हो गया, other arenas, इन सब में जरूर आता है. So we have to be very clear with how to approach any article, so minimum time हमको लगेगा. Next important article that is there in the paper and that catches our attention majorly talks about pharmaceutical sector. So this particular article is to be seen through the lens of drug makers must comply with revised norms, says government. This is relevant with regard to GS paper 2 wherein health sector reforms, GS paper 3 biotechnology and its regulations can be interlinked when we map our syllabus. Theme क्या discuss हुआ है इस article में? They majorly talks about ensuring drug quality and rational combination under CDSO oversight. Prelims के angle से we need to know what is schedule H, schedule X drugs, CDSO को क्या role है, NPPA ये क्या body है, recent bans on irrational FDC. Mains के angle से इस particular article में हमको देखना है balancing public health, affordability and pharmaceutical innovation. That is also need of the hour. GS पेपर 3 के एंगल से पब्लिक हेल्थ पॉलिसी, GS पेपर 2 में रेगुलेटरी गवर्नेंस, GS पेपर 4 में ethics in pharma industry can be linked. So in this particular article, this is relevant for both prelims and mains, and we need to know about several angles with regard to it. Moving on, the last important article that is there in the paper, and that holds very much relevance from our exam perspective, majorly talks about corals, right? So this particular article talks about Philippines pioneers coral larvae cryobank to protect threatened reefs. Now, when we map this particular article in our syllabus, this will fall under GS paper 3, environment and biodiversity. Also GS paper 1, geography. The key theme that has been discussed in this particular article primarily talks about conservation technology for marine biodiversity. Prelims के angle से जो factual details हमको पता होना चाहिए. What is coral bleaching? इसके लिए favorable conditions क्या होते हैं coral bleaching के लिए? What is symbiotic relationships? And कौन से दो वो species symbiotic relationships में होते हैं when it comes to corals? Sites की conventions, mains के angle से we need to know about blue economy, biodiversity conservation, climate action models adopted all across the world for conservation of corals. Afterwards, we can even interlink with GS paper 2, international cooperation. Corals को बचाने के लिए ऐसा कुछ body या mechanism develop हुआ है कि नहीं? अगर हुआ है तो which one? GS paper 3 में marine economy, ecosystem all together. GS paper 1 में ocean currents as well. How ocean currents impact corals all together, and coastal geography as well. So in this manner, this particular article is to be holistically read and revised. This is all from my end. My last